And here we go, back with our Down in the Blocks illustrious panelists here in Crawford Podcasting Network on May 7th, 2025. You know, I've mentioned this on a couple other podcasts, guys. There's no dog days of podcasts related to sports when it comes to college football, college basketball, Michigan football, Michigan basketball, same thing in Michigan State, because there's always news pegs, right, to talk about for our respective schools. And there's a couple issues I want to talk about. And I'm gonna lead off with Mark Dodson for our in topic number one, self-imposed 2-game
I
suspension
wonder where this is going.
with Sharon Moore. I'm just getting your input. Hey, guys, I'm gonna be perfectly candid with you today. I'm all questions and I'm zero answers on on these two topics. I'm not gonna pretend I know, and I'm confused. And I'm going to be selfish here. I'm here to learn from you cats. That's where I'm coming from. So, Mark, you don't admit it, but you are a Michigan insider, and I want to. I guess my biggest thing, and I've gotten some feedback from.
Wait. Hey, man, wait. I'll be a Michigan insider if it comes with cash.
Okay. Well, then there's no cash.
If it's just a label, then I'm not. No, I don't want to own that one.
Okay,
you got to set that NIL deal up, Mark. Come on.
Well, we'll just ask for your opinion as opposed to being an insider, okay, or your speculation. Let me get to the question because I've had a lot of people reach out to me about, and I have the same question. Michigan, last couple of years, this ongoing investigation of the sign stealing and whatever, and the Harbaugh suspensions, and now Sharon Moore suspensions, and then 2 coaches suspended that are in the NFL. Like, that's going to have impact. But it seemingly Michigan said that they were going to be defiant in this thing, and they did no wrong, and now they're self-imposing. Sharon Moore sitting out the Central Michigan game and the Nebraska game. So, what's the line of thinking on that, Mark? What's that?
That's false. Michigan has not said they've done nothing wrong. That's false. Keep going.
Okay, but they haven't said they have done wrong.
Well, we don't know what. See, that's part of the problem.
I mean, I'm just saying. Okay.
No. The only person that has said, there are 2 people that have said things publicly. Jim Harbaugh said, I didn't know anything about this.
Okay.
And Sharon Moore says, I look forward to the text coming out. I'm not concerned about that. Those are the only 2 people that have said anything.
So we'll go with that. Okay, so let me reframe the question if I could, just so we can get this going. We're not got caught up in semantics here that would slow the podcast down. Is this? What's your take on what's going on in Ann Arbor? Where do you think this is going? I don't know, confirmed, but I hear some type of a June 4th and 5th, hearing or whatever. And then I was in the room when Ward Manuel did say this was going to be cleaned up, hopefully by the end of the summer. Just give us your insight on where you think this is headed for the Michigan football program, and perceived what you perceive the penalties might be when it's all said and done.
Hey, man, let me a couple of things. First of all, there are going to be a lot of narratives being blown up because fans have decided to latch on to stuff that has no basis in reality. For whatever freaking reason, they've committed to a reality that does not exist. Getting back to your question, most of this discussion is coming off the report that Michigan is going to suspend, self-impose Sharon Moore for 2 games, and specifically what those 2 games are.
Yeah.
There are questions as to who leaked that. I doubt seriously anybody from the University of Michigan leaked that. If somebody from the NCAA leaked that, then that suggests that the NCAA has somewhat agreed to those 2 games being the suspension. All right. I mean, I'm just saying to suggest.
Pre-negotiation, you're saying like a pre-negotiation.
Yeah. Otherwise, why leak it? Otherwise, why leak it? Especially given the fact that this stuff is not supposed to come out in public. So what they've done immediately when it comes to any negotiations with Michigan, if they leak that, is alienate any relationship they may want to have with Michigan, assuming that's true, period. We don't know anything other. I'm sorry. Michigan filed a 150-page report in response to the original notice of allegations. Supposedly, the NCAA edited or revised their original notice of allegation. Michigan will file a response to that. We don't know what the original allegations are. We don't even know who all the principals that have been alleged to have been participating in wrongful conduct is. We are relying on third, fourth, fifth-hand reports from reporters who supposedly have seen things, and we're freaking out as fans.
Well, I'm not saying we're freaking out. I didn't say they're freaking out. They're asking questions. And I do want to throw this nugget in here if I could. That E.J. Holland report, E.J. Holland from Wolverine.com, who's in constant contact with recruits. All of a sudden, recruits on the road, we're not seeing their the key recruitment. May is a huge month for 26, 27 recruits, even 28 recruits. I mean, what's your response to that situation?
I'm not sure what you're saying. Holland says a lot of stuff. And it's not based on communications that he has with the University of Michigan, because supposedly the University of Michigan decided not to communicate with E.J. Hollins.
I'm talking about recruits, the recipients of these visits that typically.
Yeah. What did he say, Tom?
That they told him. Yep. They told him that they won't see him until June. Which, I mean, you're starting to.
Oh, okay. I got you. I saw that too. Yeah. That's based on the restrictions that were imposed previously. That has got nothing to do with this situation.
Okay, I got it. Yep. Okay. Hey, Chris, I want to move over to you before.
Let me explain one more thing. Where this thing is headed, nobody knows.
Yeah. We don't know exactly, and that's why I'm glad you brought that up. And then we'll move around to our other panels, and then back to you, Mark. Is because everybody asks my opinion. I go, I'll wait until it's all done, signed, field, confirmed. This is what's going to happen. Then I'll respond, because a lot of these, and here I'm giving an opinion. A lot of these, and this goes into what you were saying. Narratives are based off threads from Ohio State and Michigan State message boards, and then other schools receive those. Because I've seen them on other schools, and they go back to like Spartan Wire or Bucknuts or whatever. So I mean, I'm validating your point. See why I want to ask you this question as a former, 4-year varsity player at the University of Michigan, proud alumnus, just like Mark is, just like I am. But how do you think Michigan has handled this, from your vision, in terms of Ward Manuel's handling of it and Sharon Moore?
Well, for starters, man, I'm so sick of all this just absolute shit. This reminds me of my time when I was in school, where we come into practice and it was just one thing after another. It just, the coaching staff and then the AD. Like, I think Ward's handling it the best that he can. I mean, he's kind of given a shit situation where he's really, he can talk about some things and he can't mention other things, and he can do this and he can't do that. Right. And I think Michigan's trying to get ahead of it with this kind of self-imposed suspension of Sharon Moore. But I mean, come on, man. Like, when is this going to be done? Why does it take the NCAA years to get through this stuff? What else do they have going on that they can investigate and get this stuff done in a timely manner? The head coach that was there when all of this supposedly happened is long gone. Yeah, he's a full season removed now. As a player that's been through it, man, that this is not what you want to be dealing with. This is not what you want to wake up to and see. And when I went through it 25 years ago, we didn't have Twitter and all this social media nonsense to just have it blasted constantly in your face. I can't even imagine what these guys are dealing with. Getting hit up on social media by reporters and by knuckleheads from all these different other wire services and stuff. Like, hey, what's going on? What do you know? Who can you talk about? What's happening? Like, it's ridiculous. Let's focus on what we need to be focused on as, basketball players and football players and baseball players and whatever. Not worried about all this other nonsense.
Yeah, Jeremy Norquist, and you speak from kind of an outlier thing. You don't have any connection with the University of Michigan, but you respect both Michigan and Michigan State. How do you see this thing how affecting the University of Michigan's reputation, both athletically and academically? And then you have the president of Sante Ono going to Florida, which is to me an inferior school academically and research wise. I don't understand that, and we'll get into that for a second. But my point is, what's your take on all this stuff from your perspective?
Well, I think that this does not look good for Michigan, obviously. But like you guys said, it just keeps carrying on. And I think that, to speak for the NCAA, I think they just want to stay relevant. I think that's why they are stringing this out. I believe they could, draw a line in the sand, even though I don't believe the NCAA is relevant anymore other than to collect money. But they want to stay relevant. So they're going to string this out as long as they can. I believe they could draw a line in the sand and say, hey, let's talk to Michigan. Let's see what happens. Because you got the only people that are paying for this are the kids that are there currently, the recruits that are coming in, because everybody else is gone. Everybody else has jumped ship for whatever reason, whether it's Jim Harbaugh taking $16 million, and now
your mentor Klink, who are on to the NFL, and so they're not going to re-enter the college football ranks. I mean, so how does it affect them?
That's my point. Like you're doing is penalizing the kids that are there, penalizing the university. That a lot of times I don't want to sound, but this is no one at the university had anything. I'm not saying no one, but most 99.9% had no knowledge of this, even in the athletic department. And so I just would like this to be done, go away, let's move on. And I don't understand why they can't get to that point.
Yeah. Hey, Mark,
let me follow up with and on piggyback. Look, man, this is standard operating procedures for the NCAA. They don't rush to anything. They especially won't rush to anything in this situation because all the people that are involved. This Stallion situation ended up revealing issues with Klink and issues with Mentor that had to be addressed independently. There are also Stallions, Denard Robinson, Chris Partridge, Jim Harbaugh, and Sharon Moore, and the institution that have also been implicated in this situation. Michigan has responded with a pretty ferocious reply brief to the notice of allegations. NCAA has to deal with those allegations raised or those responses raised by the University of Michigan. They have to be real careful in their investigative processes as well as their procedural processes. Otherwise, they will subject themselves to litigation if they aren't patient and follow these painstaking procedures. So they got to be careful too. I know fans want to get things finished up real quickly, and I am too tired. I am mostly exhausted by these reports coming out by these so-called insiders that Michigan fans decide they're going to run with and whatever else and respond to, and they have to be dealt with. There is a hearing set, which is part of the process, and as you mentioned earlier, that is confirmed the first week of June, and that will be a hearing. That will be a hearing before the committee, and those matters that are still being contested will be heard by the committee. If you recall, Jim Harbaugh was asked to appear before a meeting. He said, I'm out. I'm not playing that game with you guys. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised, therefore, if Stallions took the same position and said, I'm not playing. If Denard Robinson took the same position and said, I'm not playing. If Chris Partridge took the same position and said, I am not playing, which means that the hearing will primarily, participating in the hearing will probably primarily be Sharon Moore, unless they've already agreed to his sanction and or somebody from the University of Michigan.
Okay. So I got a question really quick.
Go ahead.
Sorry. It seems to me the head coach of Michigan got kind of left holding the bag. I mean, that's what it seems like to me.
You mean talking about Sharon?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sharon, and you talked about the players that remain in the program. Yeah, they're going to have to take the bullet for this. They're going to have to take the bullet for this, and the bullet can range from, I expect there's going to be a significant fine. All right, I suspect that there are going to be some other window dressing type
recruiting
restrictions that are placed on Michigan.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're gonna put some limitations on that too, because they got to show something because of the profile, because of the publicity and the profile that was given to this matter altogether. So
and the duration of it too. They can't come back and say, "Oh, we're just going to fine the university $500,000." Like it has to be something more to justify the 2.5+ years that we've been dealing with this now.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I think Michigan fans are. You say that they want to get to the bottom of this. Well, it's been 2022, or we're at 2025 right now. I mean, it is getting a little bit old. But Mark, I want to get your response. I dropped this out a little bit a second ago about Santa Ono resigning to go to the University of Florida. I mean, did it surprise you? And we're going to get on to another topic. So if you could, make it concise as much as you can. The reason why he left?
Bro, there are multiple reasons why he left. I can tell you one reason that has been offered as to why he left, which is inaccurate, which is somehow is related to the NCAA. That's just totally false.
Okay,
yeah, that's just another for whatever reason. The whole premise.
My understanding of the situation is that the optics of him leaving don't look good when it all came out. Yeah, but I think this has been in the works for a while. And I think it's totally unrelated to football as to why he's leaving. I think there's other things in the regions that they just weren't getting along. Things were not going the way that the regents thought that things should be handled, and it's time for him to go.
Okay, real quick though, Mark, does this have anything to do with the pressures of the Oval Office with higher education and funding when it comes to, I mean, we're talking about the situation at Harvard, and is there pressure from the Board of Regents to have Santa Ono act in a resistant way to the executive office or not?
It's not just the Board of Regents; it's the faculty. The faculty has issued a letter of no support, criticizing Ono to the New York Times. Okay, the New York Times has yet published that article. Okay. And you know why they haven't published that? That gets back to what you were saying earlier. You know why they haven't published that article? Because they don't want to piss off Trump. They don't want to piss off. They don't want to do anything to piss off Trump. But when they abandoned DEI, I think I mentioned to you at that time, Tom, that I don't know if I could any longer be participating in this podcast because I didn't want to be aligned with anything that might be University of Michigan related. And I think I might have shared that with you guys. I don't know if it was during the podcast or not, but I was very disappointed in that. When it comes to, there is significant funding that is provided by the federal government when it comes to research, et cetera, that Michigan has relied upon for decades. They are considering redrawing that funding just like they did at Harvard. That would be a major financial hit on the University of Michigan. If you talk to people that have applied for research positions or positions that are somehow research connected, it seems like Michigan has honored prior commitments to folks, but they are sending letters to people that have applied saying, we will let you know right now, everything is on hold. So wow. And the Palestinian thing that went on at the University of Michigan, the protests that eventually led to charges being brought against the protesters at the University of Michigan that have most recently been dropped by the AG's office. We got a lot of political overtones here. And the suggestion that came off the protest is that Michigan is anti-Semitic because it allowed for the Palestinians to express the pro-Palestinians to express themselves. And you saw what happened to at least 2 other prior presidents at prominent universities after their presentations before Congress. They got ghosted. Yeah. Ono was hanging on by a thread. You asked, were we surprised? No, and I'm not disappointed at all. Ono's main staple has been initially, at least initially anyway, his love for sports. Yeah, at some point, you know, and that's fans doing that stuff again, yeah, for whatever reason. But immediately I said, no, he's got to run the institution. He's got to deal with faculty. He's got to deal with regents. He's got to deal with graduates. That's where his job goes. And evidently, when it came to those folks, the majority of them did not have a problem with him leaving. I can't tell you everybody that when I shared the news, and I can tell you I shared the news with almost 50 folks. Every response was good riddance. Good riddance. Now I can't. And that sentiment was not expressed to me prior to that. They were kind of sitting on things. I guess it wasn't part of the discussion, but all of them said good riddance for whatever reason. Yeah. Okay. We still don't know. Yeah. We still don't know what all he did while he was there during his tenure, and we can speculate as to why he decided to go to Florida, which you say is supposedly an inferior academic.
Well, everything's subjective in life, right? Hey, I want to switch 63 miles to the northwest and start with Jeremy Norquist. I mean, your wife is involved with the Spartan S Club. The Alan Haller departure from as athletic director at Michigan State University, did it surprise you? Do you see it justified? And where do you think the push came from him leaving?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. Did it surprise me? No comment. Is it?
Come on, Jay.
Is it justified? Here's the thing. I don't know Alan Haller. Like, I've met him 30 times. He wouldn't know me if he saw me.
Damn, he just got nixed by Alan Haller.
I think that was a self-imposed.
Alan Haller just cut his feed.
That was self-imposed. He pulled the plug on himself. Okay, Chris, we'll move to you until Jeremy finds his way back. What was your reaction?
I was surprised because I'd never heard anything negative about Haller. I mean, I thought he had some good hires as his time as AD at Michigan State, but when talking with people around town, one guy that I play basketball with that knows him pretty well is like, apparently Haller didn't want to play the game. He didn't want to go to the big alumni and chase the NIL money and glad hand and do all that kind of stuff. That's not him. That's not his personality. And if you want to survive in today's NCAA, that's what you have to do. And he didn't want to do that. He wanted people to just, he wanted guys like Ishbia that just want to give money to the university, that, you don't have to chase down and ask for money. That's my understanding. I don't know if that's right, wrong, or different, but that's everything I've heard this week so far.
I hear you on that.
Chris,
go ahead, Mark. And
Chris,
we'll go back to
Chris, did you see his response? Did you see his response in the article? Oh, no, okay. Well, let me just say his version.
Yeah.
He didn't want to deal with money people the way the money people wanted to deal with NIL. In other words, he said there were some influences some people out here with influence that were trying to influence him to break rules.
Yeah. And
he wouldn't do it. That's his.
If that's the case, then I got a lot of respect for him that he wouldn't cross that line.
Okay, but I saw.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
I saw, and I apologize. I saw Alan Haller. I mean, I saw what he did, meaning that, like, here's the one thing I don't like about Alan Haller, so he wrote about a couple years back that he was bringing back swimming. Okay, yeah. They cut. My wife swam at Michigan State.
Yeah,
he wrote a couple years ago that he was bringing it back. Well, in the last 2 years, he's just kind of shut it down. Nothing else said. Now, the problem I have with that is that I am very close to Division I AD. And I understand that they're asked to do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, meaning that, like, I don't know about the lying and cheating. I'm sure they are. But my point is that they're asked to do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, which the president's like, we got to do this, or the board of regents like, and you have to enact on it if you're the athletic director. Well, the problem is Alan Haller would just say stuff willy-nilly and then not follow up with it. And that's my only problem with it. Okay. That's my biggest issue. And it revolves around the swimming program. So, you know, that's the truth. I mean, but does he deserve to be fired? I don't know if anybody deserves to be fired. Am I shocked that he was fired? No, because I think Michigan State's NIL, I think their basketball, football, is a mess. And then with the Nassar and the Mel Tucker thing, it was just a comedy of errors over there.
Well, there's two sports that made money at Michigan State this past year: football and basketball. Hockey broke even for the first time. Women's basketball lost $4 million. I mean, there's a lot of burden in high level intercollegiate athletics that people don't realize. And this is where it goes back to the NIL money and funding of your operation. When you have Texas and Texas A&M, reportedly $40 million in NIL money coming up in the next couple of years, how do people compete with that? How do the other Power 4 schools compete with that? We're going to have haves and have-nots. It's going to be a crazy line of demarcation.
I'm not an Alan Haller apologist. I'm just responding to your question, Tom, related to the NIL stuff and only offering what Alan Haller offered in response to the NIL discussion in a short form. I ended up speaking to somebody in the athletic department at the University of Michigan, informed them of Haller imminent termination or publicity, it being announced publicly. And that person I spoke to described Alan Haller as a good dude and in a tough position primarily because fans don't understand that NIL is not just about what the athletic department does, but it requires a collaboration and collaboration of a number of different entities.
Right.
Fans, donors, coaches are very instrumental when it comes to generating or getting donations that might be NIL related. And on to this, and I don't know how much you got caught up in this, and maybe Jeremy, you can know about this and speak to it at your comfort. When Tucker got fired, at least one of the big money donors who was contributing significantly to NIL said, I'm pulling back my cash. Which led then to the football players revolting because they were told by the collective that they were not going to get their checks, almost to the point where they were considering sitting out, I believe, the Iowa game. Now, for whatever reason, they decided to play in the Iowa game, but you have a lot of folks that look at that game and think, nah, they really weren't into it. Anyway, that's part of it. Whether or not Haller had to take some heat because of what happened to Tucker, and then what happened as a result of what happened to Tucker, I don't know. And what else he did in his job, it's kind of like your question about Ono. There's a whole lot of stuff that's associated with that AD job. And Jeremy just spoke to one of them. There's a whole lot of things that you were responsible for that you can get in trouble for if you don't make the right decision, or better yet, if the outcome is not what people want it to be.
Now, Jeremy, you have a suggestion for the new athletic director at Michigan State University.
Do I have a suggestion?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. I think Scott Weatherby from Eastern Michigan University would be he was the associate at Mississippi State. He can fundraise like a mother. He went to Eastern Michigan, which, I've known him for a while. But Eastern Michigan is one of the hardest places to be an athletic director because the money raised is usually nil. Well, now, I mean, he's built so many things over there. He got Max Crosby to give a ton of cash, and others. And that is one of the, if he can raise money there, he can raise money anywhere. And he's been an athletic director, for I think 7-8 years, and he came, an associate at Mississippi State. He's been in the system. He knows what he's doing. Eastern Michigan went from going to no bowl games. Now they go to and now there's a lot more bowl games, but they go to a bowl game every year. Scott Weatherby is the guy I'd get behind.
All right.
Hey man, and let me Tom, I don't know. There's just so much stuff out here that's crappy. Let me. There are just a couple other things I want to put a dot on. No pun. When it comes to this NCAA thing, first, when Michigan self-imposed back in 2023, Harbaugh, Sharon, I think there were a couple other coaches, Mike Hart, etc. People did not know at that time that was part of a negotiated resolution. They just thought Michigan was just self-imposing for the heck of it. Turns out that was part of a negotiated resolution. That could indeed be what is going on now. Just because there is a report of Michigan self-imposing does not mean that there's no backstory to any of this stuff and that Michigan is capitulated and just rolled over. They're not fighting, quote unquote.
Right.
When it comes to Michigan's position as it relates to the NCAA and then potentially trying to identify what the sanction might be, people need to understand that when it came to the prior matter, Michigan was stone cold busted. They cheated. Now you might want to say that the rules really shouldn't be that important. That's fine. But when it came to the rules, they were clear and they were violated by Michigan, and they were violated by Michigan intentionally. And when it comes to this matter, we still don't know what the allegations specifically are and to what extent they got evidence on Michigan. If they've got evidence that Michigan stone cold cheated, then that's going to be problematic for Michigan. But also what's going to be problematic for Michigan is the fact that they got a history with the NCAA. And the history with the NCAA is not a good history with the NCAA. So there will be implications and repercussions in this matter by virtue of the matter that has already been resolved by the NCAA.
Chris, I'm going to give you the final word, and then we got to reattack this next week because we have so much content. We're at 33 minutes, but how do you feel right now about things? You're a former athlete, as I mentioned before. Do you think there's light at the end of the tunnel, and this will, it will cleanse itself? And for, and basketball is pretty clean right now, but for football and basketball and the whole reputation of the university.
The light at the end of the tunnel is this hearing that's going to happen the first week of June.
Yeah.
Where hopefully this gets resolved, and then all of that information is released to the public, and we can all sit down and read it and see exactly what the allegations were, exactly what information they had, who where it came from, what it all was all about. But if it goes to, this trial at the beginning of June, and then none of the information comes out until July, or maybe that kind of trickles out into August and leaks into football season and all that, it's going to be the same old nonsense. We're going to be talking about this. We'll be sitting here again this time next year talking about the same stuff. Oh, well, this came out, and well, we know this little drip and that little drip. Just release all the information and let the public know what the hell's actually going on. But the NCAA doesn't want to do that. Like Jay said back at the beginning of the podcast, they want to stay relevant. They want to say, we still have this power. Look at what we're still able to do. We're going to draw this out, and we're just going to keep on just giving little drips and little pieces. Oh, and we sent this to Michigan. The Michigan has, X number of days to respond, and then they send it back to us. And, we're going to take 2 months to look at it and think about it. What the hell else do they have to do? Get this shit done. Get it resolved. Mark, if you got an important case sitting on your desk, you don't let it sit there for a month or two. You look at it and get it resolved.
Yeah.
Like that's
well,
how the world works.
it's important to us because we're Michigan fans, but they got a bunch of trash on their desk. And then
but this is like one of the flagship premier athletic programs in the country. Like this is that block M, which they've been trying to go after for 30 years, 40 years since the Fab Five.
The hated school that everybody bashes and everything.
Exactly.
Hey guys, yep.
And it may not be over at this hearing. Coming off this hearing, there will be conclusions. There will be determinations made by the Committee of Infractions. There will be a proposed sanction, and then Michigan will still have the right to appeal that. Mm-hmm. So it might
get on, and here we go into the 25-26 academic calendar. Guys, we're going to leave it right there, and we'll be back next week because God knows what will happen, uncover in the next few days. Again, Chris Young, Mark Dodson, Jeremy Norquist, thank you very much. Down the blocks. Here on the Crawford.
Hey man, let me know when it's over. Let me know when we stop recording.
All right, guys.
Jeremy, get ready.
Great job, guys.
Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Have you stopped it?